Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to cover the Tray Builder module. Now the first thing you're going to do is go up to the top and click on Tray Builder. Then you're going to click on Import Training Model over on the right. By doing this, you can choose either an upper or a lower, depending on what you're doing. We're going to work on the upper today, so everything I do will reference the upper model. Afterwards, you select the model, make sure it's highlighted, and then choose Name Upper Model. That will change the color, and it will also make it so the rest of the workflow will function properly. Next, we're going to change our angle of the view of the model and try to eliminate any undercuts that we might see, because we're going to go into the survey function. So with the model lined up how we want, we click on Block Out by View Upper or Lower if you're using a lower model. And this will generate a pink model that will essentially just be the blacked out version of this model. So any undercuts will be covered essentially with this. Now with this particular upper model, there's not a lot to show here, but that's what this function does. It uses your view to create an undercut blockout. Next, once you're happy with it, you click on Accept Upper Survey. If you needed to change it, you could rotate the view at this point using the gizmo on the screen. Once the survey is generated, you will be able to sculpt on it using the sculpting toolkit. So this would allow you to add or subtract material and smooth it as well if you needed to. Again, this model doesn't have a lot of undercut to adjust, but if you wanted to, let's say, go into the depth of sulcus and add a little bit of relief in there, this would be an opportunity to do so. Once you're happy with your blockout, you can go over to the right and click on Create Blockout Model. This will then stitch that pink model into the tan one and create a new working surface that we'll be functioning on moving forward. Once the stage is complete, the model will now be a solid object. We can move forward into our next step, which would be going into the Measurements tab and placing any measurements that need to be placed here. Once you have the measurement where you want it to be, you can then go over to the right and place a reference point. I know of certain rules that might exist to allow you to use these measurements and these reference points to determine the outline area of where this custom tray should go. So using these tools, we'll then be able to connect the dots and create our border, essentially, of the entire tray. After all your points are placed, you can go over to the right and exit measurement mode. This will then just leave the reference points on the model that we can use for reference later. Next, we can open up Tissue Stop, and this will allow us to paint any areas that we want to be tissue stops. So by clicking on Paint Tissue Stops, it'll give you an option to paint a surface. And that surface will then essentially allow the tray to come into contact with that area of the original model. After you're done, you click on Finish Tissue Stops. And that will then apply the area you've painted to the model. Next, you go into Auto Tray Designer and click on Outline Tray. Now, when you click that button, it's going to place a blue point on the model, exactly where your 3D cursor is. From there, we extend this line by pressing E on the keyboard as an echo, and then clicking to place the point. So you press E to extend, and then click to place. You're going to do this all the way around the model. Just making this long line connecting these dots together. When you're done, you hold down Shift and select the first point again, and then press F to join them together. This will fill the space between them. Now you have your outline. The next thing to do is go over to the right and click on Accept Outline. This will turn the entire model blue. And it'll also create a little cutout area where you drew that line. So the next thing to do is to select parts to keep. It'll switch you into a mode called Edit Mode, where you'll see an outline of the model. And you just select one face, any face, basically in that section that you want to. After having done that, you click on Remove Extra Parts. And what that will do is it'll remove the rest of the model around it. You've now created the intaglio surface for your tray. Then you can just do the Auto Tray Designer. So we have an option for no spacer, a 2mm, and a 4mm spacer. Click on the one you would like to use, and it'll automatically apply a spacer to the model to create some relief, and it'll also generate the tray. Once the tray's been generated, it'll just be basically what you just saw, but thicker. We can turn off all the reference points in the collection by clicking and dragging the mouse down on all the eyeball icons on the right. That'll get rid of those red points so we don't have to look at them anymore. Applying the tissue stop will then raise that area to come into contact with the model. So it'll ignore the spacer that you've applied, creating a tissue stop. Next, we want to place our 3D cursor by using Alt and right click. And we'll add a handle. So that'll bring in this object here. Using our tools of rotation, resizing, and placement with grab. And we can also just use the gizmo here on the screen as well. We can place this object on here to be a better handle. So put it where you would like it to be. Click and drag to move it. And you can resize it as needed as well. Once you're happy with it, click on Weld Handle to Tray. And that will attach it to the tray. Then all that's left is really to smooth out the edges. So you're going to go into Toggle Sculpt Mode. Use the smoothing tool. And just smooth out all these corners around the outside edge. Once you're happy with the way the smoothing has turned out, you can then toggle back out of sculpt mode. Now if you'd like to, you can add some text to the handle or to anywhere on the tray if you want to. This is typically where you'd put a patient name or a pan number or something along those lines. Anything that you would want to have as an identifier. So here we've just written custom tray. Click on complete text and that will allow you to now move it as though it's a normal object. It will be glued to the material of the tray. So be careful with moving this. You don't want to go too crazy with it. It could end up kind of acting kind of glitchy if you try to drag it in the wrong place. So we usually recommend putting this on the handle. When you click on engrave text, that will then engrave it into that part of the object. And now that's built in. So the last thing to do is click on Prepare for Printing. You can see at the bottom of the screen, it shows how many vertices, edges, and faces have been modified. We want to click on that repeatedly until we get zeros across the board, just like this. Then we can export the STL. This will export the file, the design of the tray, as a file that can be opened in any printing software. And that's it. Thanks for watching.